Hello everyone, so since it's July, I thought I will do the mid-year freakout tag. I haven't been seeing it everywhere, and I have sometimes done it and sometimes not, because I don't know if the answers that I have are insightful, but this year I think it might be interesting to do it. So yeah, let's just get into the questions. So the first question is, what is your favorite book so far this year? And for me, it has to be Stillborn by Guadalupe Nettel. I read this for the International Booker and I loved it. So I think it's the first book that I have given 5 stars in a really long time, and I normally don't share my star ratings here because I don't think they are insightful for anybody else, but in this case, I just love this book. The second question is the best sequel so far, and I have checked. I don't think I have read any sequel, so I guess none. The next question is new release you haven't read yet but want to, and there are 2 here that I really want to read. The first one is The Patriarchs by Angela Saini. I have read Inferior and Superior by Angela Saini, and she's always very insightful on how society makes us think things that are not true, like men are superior or white people are superior, things like that, and how it has been ingrained in our brain even if we are rationally fighting it. So I'm really interested in her new book. I always find her very insightful. And the other book that I really want to read that was released earlier this year is Pageboy by Elliot Page, which is a memoir of Elliot Page's life in acting and transitioning into the person that he is, and I like him as a person a lot. I think he's very smart and snarky, and I would love to read his memoir, so that is another one that I'm looking forward to. And then the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So I normally don't follow a lot of releases before they come out, but I was taking a look at a couple of lists, and I saw that Zadie Smith has a new book called The Fraud. I have not loved everything that Zadie Smith has written, but some of the books that she has written I have really loved, so I'm interested in this one. I wouldn't say it's like my most anticipated book of the year that I really wanted to read, but it's something that it will for sure be in my radar. Then the next question is my biggest disappointment, and I think it might be Pod by Laline Paul. I read this because it was part of the Women's Prize for Fiction longlist and shortlist, and a lot of people that I trust read it and loved it, and then I read it and I was very confused as to why people were loving this so much. I read it, I buddy read it with Lorraine, and she had the same reaction. We both just had a rant with each other about this. It's not that it's completely horrible. There are aspects of it that I found interesting as well, but the story was just so cliche, and the characters were so undeveloped. I just don't understand why people were calling it the new Overstory or something like that. I was very underwhelmed by it. The biggest surprise, I don't know if this would be the biggest surprise, because when I got it I thought I was really going to like it, but so last year for Secret Santa with Katie Books Discord, I got Violent Phenomena, which is an essay collection from different authors about translation, and I hadn't really heard about it or anything, and then I read it and I could not stop thinking about it ever since. So this has had a really big impact, and yeah, when I received the book as a surprise, I thought, oh, this really sounds like me, but I had not read anything before about this, so yeah, I guess it's a surprise in some sense, and a very good one for that. Favorite new author is the next question, and probably most people understand this as author that you have read for the first time this year that you're loving, but for me, to call someone my favorite author, I have to read at least 2 or 3 of their books, and then I decide, yeah, this is an author I love or not. And at the beginning of this year I read Flights by Olga Tokarczuk, which was the 3rd Olga Tokarczuk that I have read, and I can fairly confidently now say that she is one of my favorite authors. I want to read everything that she has written now. Her books, there are some books that she has that are very famous and are easy to get. Some of them are less easy to get, but yeah, I will try to get more books from her, because yeah, I think she's really smart and really really impressive. The next question is the newest fictional crush, and I did try this year to find something, but seriously, like, the books that I read are not really about characters' crushes. They are not meant to be loved, I don't think, in this sense. So yeah, I don't have anything for that. The next question though is newest favorite character, and I'm not sure if I would say favorite character, but a very interesting character pair that I found is the two men from Time Shelter by Georgy Gospodinov. I read this also for the International Booker, and I really enjoyed it, and I think part of it is like the tone of the book, which has a lot to do with the characters, I think. And in particular, there is this character called Gustin, who is very mysterious psychiatrist that comes up with this crazy idea of having a time shelter, basically a place where time doesn't pass for Alzheimer's patients. And he has these crazy ideas, and for what I have read, Gostin is a character that comes out in all of Gospodinov's other books, maybe not all, but some of them, which is an interesting thing to have, and that itself made me curious to read the other books that he has. So I guess in that sense it's a character that had an impact of me. Next question is a book that made you cry, and again I'm going back to my favorite book, Stillborn. I read this in audiobook, which I think always makes me more emotional than reading it on paper, and the author reads it herself, and yeah, it's so touching, the story of these two women and their journey to motherhood or not motherhood. It's really hard, and yeah, it did make me cry. A book that made me happy, I said The Bandit Queens, which is a very rompy book about this village in India in which we follow mostly a woman, Gita, who is believed to have killed her husband because he was abusive, and he disappeared one day and everyone kind of assumed that she killed him, and then other women in the village come to her because they also want to get rid of their husbands that are also abusive. So it's kind of very rompy and very feminist as well, but yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it kind of made me happy. It was the perfect balance of being light-hearted and funny, but also having some content and discussion that makes it feel a little bit more substantial. It's the most beautiful book that I bought this year, and that was a difficult question because I don't feel like I bought any like particularly amazingly beautiful books. One book that I really enjoy the cover of and the like format is The Betrayed by Reine Arcache Melvin. It's also a very good book, so I would recommend. But in general, these Europa editions with like the French flaps and like the very understated cover, I really enjoy this. So I guess this is the favorite cover of the book that I've read this year. And then the last question is, which books do you need to read by the end of the year? And I have at the beginning of the year made a video of some of my goals and my projects for this year, and one of them was to finish my Read Around the World project, and I have now finished North and South America, Europe and Africa. And I have still the countries of some countries in Asia and a lot of countries in Oceania that I still have to read for that challenge. I think I have like 20 something countries left, so those books I want to read by the end of the year. And the other project that I have in my things to want to read for this year is every year I want to read all the books that were in my TBR at the end of the previous year, so that I call that my ancient TBR. So all the books that I don't want any book to be there for more than a year, so I'm trying to read all the books that I acquired last year, and those are about 12 by now. So those I also kind of not need to, but want to read before the end of the year. So that's quite a few books already. I don't want to share the whole list here because it's like 40 books and I think this will be unnecessarily long, but those are the books that I want to read this year. Yeah, let me know how your year of reading has gone so far. If you want to answer the questions in the comment, I would love to know. Or if you have a video, let me know and I will go check it out. And until next video, bye!